Soundcheck, checking in on the latest hip-hop, and that was the instrumental of Shook One's Part 2 by the legendary producer Havoc of Mobb Deep. This is the premiere of the Soundcheck's 2016 rap album reviews, and we will be starting off with the greatly anticipated Kanye West album, The Life of Pablo. Coming into this album, I was pretty excited. There was a lot of build-up with the previously released singles. He even brought back Good Fridays from the Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy days. And the social media hype was so big, it brought the album to its highest peak.
Yeah, and for a long time before 2016, we were settling in with the previously announced title was Swish. And after a long span of having Swish as the title, it eventually changed to Waves, and then finally coming to The Life of Pablo. And after some tracklist changes, he debuted his album at Yeezy Season 3, and then, a couple of days later, after his SNL skit, he dropped his finalized album exclusively on Tidal, The Life of Pablo. The album kicks off with one of the finer tracks in my opinion, and the song itself also starts off with a sampling of a somewhat popular Twitter video. This track has a heavy gospel feel, and there are some pretty great appearances in this song. Kelly Price makes a strong appearance. Chance the Rapper has some great and beautiful bars.
I think those features off the first track just really hits it off pretty well. Those two, they also leave that great gospel vibe just to make the track even better.
Yeah, and even Donnie Trumpet gives a sweet and faint trumpet appearance as well. There's also a grandiose acoustic and vibrant synth throughout the song, heavy drum bass, and a powerful church choir that closes out the track. This is easily one of my favorite songs of the whole 18-track album.
I do agree with that. It is one of my favorites as well. Next up is Father Stretch My Hands Part 1. It's okay. It's kind of just a song to develop the album more. At the start, when I heard Future do the Metro Boomin ad-lib, I thought I was going to get a banger going into it, but you get the Kid Cudi hook instead. And then right after that, you get the worst Kanye line he could have ever written.
Now if I fuck this model, and she just bleach her asshole, and I get bleach on my t-shirt, I'ma feel like an
Oh my god.
Oh man.
But after that part, the short song really gets the job done, and honestly, it's one of the better tracks on the album.
This song is one of the best quality songs on the album, but it might be one of my favorites off of the album. The song sucks you in as a whole, and it's somewhat of an emotional journey throughout the 2 minutes and some change. It has a very brief appearance by Future, as Adam pointed out, but what really steals the show surprisingly is Kid Cudi's feature. I've always loved Cudi's appearances on Kanye's work, and this is such a melodic and powerful appearance on the track. Kanye also pours his heart out in this song. This song and the second part that follows talks about the actions that either Kanye or others might do that is resemble what Kanye's father did to him and his mother in the past. There's somewhat of an annoying hi-hat that's faintly in the background, but it doesn't bother me as much as it does to others. And after the bleaching the asshole nonsense, the lines after that are meaningful and emotional. And in the end, it makes up for a solid song. Following part 1 comes the second part to this original epic song, and it samples a previously released song by Designer, and it also pretty much rips off the original song released by Designer. In the song, like its predecessor, you can tell Kanye is pouring his heart out on these bars, but I feel that this part is a little bit more emotional for him. And after the first few listens, I've decided that Designer could be Good Music's next feature.
Yeah, this is the banger that I was looking for from part 1. It bleeds into part 2, and you start out with the Kanye verse, and then it goes into the sample from Designer's track, Panda. This is the newest Good Music signee, and I just really like how they put him onto this new album.
Yeah, and the song also has the same bridge as the previous track, but it's a little bit more sped up. The song finally closes out with a sonic appearance by Caroline Shaw. But overall, I enjoyed this song, not as much as part 1, though.
I'm going to have to disagree with you with that. I do like part 2 better than part 1, just because of the energy that they bring. I think the production is a little better, and I'm really kind of digging Designer. He is really energetic and he's got that good flow. After part 2 comes Famous, the song with the Rihanna feature, and it's nothing too special. I mean, Rihanna's vocal sounds good, and I guess the sound of it sounds pretty good, but other than that, it's nothing too exciting.
Yeah, and Swizz Beatz makes for an awesome background vocals, and he sort of has a hype man feel throughout the track.
Other than those two things, I think that the one thing that makes this song stand out is when he comes at Taylor Swift a little bit with the I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. Why I made that bitch famous. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he was just trying to pull the controversial card with the opening lines in the song. And I don't know. I guess he was just feeling that at the time, whenever he was recording this. So he just put his feelings on the line.
I mean, it's not much of a huge song out of the album. I guess put that in just to make it better. I don't know. But one thing that I do like about the song actually is the production. I think the production is very well put together, and I actually like the sample at the end.
The first few times I listened to the track, I wasn't really into it. But as a little bit more time went on, I started to like it a little bit more. Other than that, this was a total banger with nice elements sprinkled in. Just not very fond of the track as compared to the other tracks on the album. Next in the track listing comes a nasty, hard-hitting, in-your-face beat with feedback, and it has a heavy Yeezus feel to it.
Yeah, I was hoping not to get more of the Yeezus songs, but here it is, the first one in the album. From this point on, I was really hoping we didn't get another one of those. But yeah, wasn't a big fan of the electronic kind of futuristic sounds and production that he put together here.
Unlike you, I was kind of a fan of Yeezus, but I could see how a lot of people didn't like it. That's just not their taste, and it's definitely different than what Kanye put out before Yeezus.
They say it's creative, kind of. That's how they get around this, but I don't know. I just don't think it's very good.
Yeah, I understand. In the song, Kanye gives a shout out to all of his haters. It has some pretty solid lines throughout, nothing too big, and it also has its downsides throughout the whole entire song. We have some futuristic keys and wailing noises in the background and chorus, as you pointed out. And Kanye gives a chuckle-worthy Oprah outro, and he calls it the ghetto Oprah. Also, to close it out, it's everyone's favorite yelling Kanye. This song doesn't impress me, but it has me totally on my seat, and it's completely entertaining for me.
Yeah, the Ghetto Oprah, that was pretty funny. I kind of like that a little, but that was probably the best part of that song. After that comes Low Lights, the intro into Highlights, and all it is a mother, I guess. She's praying to the Lord, and it gets back to the gospel stuff that he started off with in Ultralight Beams.
Yeah, I just feel like this intro is just completely pointless. The next song on the album doesn't really need an intro, so Low Lights, I just feel like that was just a throw-in that Kanye just was feeling at the time, but I don't think it played out very well.
He said that it's for the moms driving their kids to school, and I'm not sure what that even means. Maybe he meant to church? I don't know. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, the intro doesn't do much for me, and also this is the start to several poor skits on the album, made by a man that once thrived off his album skits in his previous projects.
Next comes Highlights, like we said, and it's probably, again, one of my least favorite tracks on the album.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, this is one of the finer produced songs on the whole album. It has a great feel to it, and, it really gets me into a good mood. And in Kanye's first verse, it gets off to a rough start lyrically with the awful line about the GoPro penis. Not sure what that's about, but he picks up a little more steam later with an interesting jab at Ray J, surprisingly.
Yeah, the chorus just was one of the things I just didn't like. I thought it was kind of lame and maybe a little cliche. We're only making the highlights. I don't know, wasn't my favorite. And I just didn't think there was anything special about this song. One of the weakest tracks lyrically.
Yeah, I can see how that could be a low point on the song. Although it's pretty simple lyrics on the verses and on the hook and chorus, it has a joyful and melodic appearance by The Dream. We've been seeing a lot of him lately, making appearances on a lot of artists' albums. And it also has a solid appearance from Young Thug playing off Kanye's lyrics towards the beginning of the song. But overall, I just feel it's a solid track, has solid production, and gives me into a good mood and has great feels.
Well, if you're in a good mood in this song, Freestyle 4 will really tear you up. It's just a terrifying song. I just think Kanye should not have had this in the album at all. Like, his weird auto-tune and bad party experience, I just do not like this.
Yeah, this song sounds terrifying from the get-go. If Kanye is sounding just really weird and a very spooky beat with mysterious strings in the background, it sounds like a mess just to start out with.
It fits the tone. Very dark, kind of mysterious, but the just lyrics are so out of hand.
Yeah.
I don't think it should have even made it on here.
Yeah, also, I'd like to add that for it to be called Freestyle 4, that means that this is the best freestyle he had out of 4 or more takes. And it's still just a sorry song all around.
Freestyles for Kanye lately, I guess, haven't been going well for him.
Yeah, nothing like it was back in the old days. But as poor lyrics, he sounds really weird throughout the whole entire thing. I just don't dig this track at all. One of the low points on the whole project. After that train wreck, we get the I Love Kanye skit. And this is just classic Kanye being Kanye. He recites pretty much everything about him, whether it's a meme of him or something in the media. He makes fun of it. He gets back at the people that are saying, we want the old Kanye back. We don't really like the new Kanye. We don't like Yeezus or 808s and Heartbreak like Adam over here.
I just think he just went in with an objective of seeing how many times he could possibly fit his name into a skit like this. Yeah, I think this is just an 0 for 2 effort in skits at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm not really digging this one, but I do think that this next track, Waves, really ends the streak of bad songs that he puts on his album. Thanks to Chance the Rapper, we get this song. You know, he pushed for it and really wanted this onto it. I think it was because of the really good melodies of Chris Brown and just kind of the quick verse that Kanye puts into it.
See, how I take this is whenever there's a song that literally puts the release of the album on hold while one artist begs the album's original artist to put that certain song on it, it better be one of, if not the best song of the album. And whenever I first listened to it, I was feeling the production and the vibes of it, and then there was a solid Kanye verse, so I was pumped for this whole thing going into it, and I was hoping it would be one of the finer tracks in the album, since it literally delayed the album's release. But what I really got in the end was just an entire song that spotlights the one and only Chris Brown.
Yeah, I think that's not bad, though, because you've gotten all these tracks before this, and there hasn't been many vocals. Even Rihanna, it was good, but I think Chris Brown really puts the icing on the cake for this. And the Waves track, I do really like it. I think it's pretty good.
Well, I'm not saying that Chris Brown's appearance is poor. It was actually quite fantastic. But the lack of Kanye almost completely on the whole song disappointed me a little bit. And this is different from Common's My Way Home on Late Registration, because Common goes in on that track with the soul vibe that fits well with what Common was doing at the time. But I believe that Kanye could have picked this beat up and ran with it. It really had great and different style production, and it didn't really do much for me in the end. But right after that comes FML featuring The Weeknd, and this track just makes me visualize Kanye and his piano, just putting his heart and soul into this track. Mm-hmm. It has a somewhat upsetting visualization from his lyrics, but he brings it home with the meaning of his lyrics.
Yeah, I've been just waiting to get to this track. It definitely competes for my favorite song on the album. It's just an amazing from-the-heart song about how there's those people out there who just want to see Kanye fuck his life up. But he knows the consequences and doesn't want to lose what he says, half of what he owns.
Yeah, and after Kanye's meaningful verses, The Weeknd makes a strong appearance on the chorus of this track.
Oh, yeah.
And he fits very comfortably with the tone and beat of this song.
I just think the production is beautiful. It's just pure art.
It has an interesting and psychedelic closing for the song. And I thought this was a decent output on the album, with Kanye's verses and The Weeknd's chorus bringing it home.
After a stretch of bad songs in the beginning, this roller coaster of an album is really beginning to pick up and sound really good. After FML comes Real Friends, and it's just another one of those really touching songs. It's one of the Good Friday songs that he released before the album. And honestly, I think it was a little overlooked because in it, it had the end of No Parties in LA. So I think people went to the song intending to get to the Kendrick verse at the end.
This song has one of the more interesting concepts and topics of the whole album, and it comes into play on this track. It has a very smooth and laid-back beat with a few heavy tenor and bass drums, and the song has a very solid back-and-forth verse style with Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign, and you can tell that they're really comfortable together on this track.
Yeah, Ty Dolla $ign really, really sounded good in this. I'm not even a huge fan of him, but I definitely am going to cruise down the street with this song on.
The song talks about how many of your so-called friends will be there for us when shit hits the fan, sort of a comparison to the concept of Kendrick's Mortal Man on Tip of a Butterfly. And Kanye mentions an incident about one of his cousins stealing his laptop, and his cousin saying that Ye has to give him $250K just to have it back. Towards the end of the track, I like how it bleeds in the next song with the same sounds as the next song,
which is Wolves. I actually missed the first release of this song with the original features of Sia and Vic Mensa, but when I first heard it on The Life of Pablo, it was a really interesting beat to me. It kind of caught my attention. It was very dark and kind of mysterious.
Yeah, at first I wasn't a fan of this song when it dropped at one of Kanye's fashion shows in early 2015. But after I got to listen to the mixed and polished version of the track, I did like it a lot more. And I do enjoy the album version a lot more than the single version.
Frank.
The beat is very soothing and haunting at the same time, with sounds of literal wolves in the background. I found that to be really cool. There's a very awesome Frank Ocean outro, which talks about him turning figuratively into a wolf himself.
One of the things that really stood out in this song was that the lyrics were very religious. It kind of stood out more to me than any of the other tracks that he had on it. In my opinion, it is one of the better tracks on the album. I love the production. It really catches my attention. The lyrics are they're good, and not his best work, but definitely a very good taste of what he can do.
Yeah, and then after that comes in with the Silver Surfer intermission. This is the closer of the three very disappointing skits on the album, in my opinion. And just recently, Kanye changed the title to where in the Silver Surfer intermission, there's now 9 I's, 4 F's, and 5 E's in the title, which I found to be a little too much. This was just a little shout out on the track towards Max B, also known as the Silver Surfer around Kanye's crew.
For me, it was probably the best skit that he had on the album. Didn't really put out much other than, I guess it's just a public announcement that Max B and Kanye are still cool. I guess there was beef between Kanye and Max B when he changed the original title from Swish to Waves. Other than that, it wasn't too impressive.
Yeah, we also got to see a little bit of French Montana. After that little skit, we get to go into 30 Hours, which is one of Adam's favorite tracks coming into it. The track starts off with an interesting sample and acoustic taste. Kanye starts rapping relentlessly at the start of this thing, with an amusing line about one of his exes, has a very smooth drum set feel, and throughout this song, Kanye tells the story of him and his ex-girlfriend, as he mentions the struggle of him coming to fame, and that it took 30 hours to travel from Chicago to LA, whenever he was recording in LA, leaving his girl back in Chi-Town.
This is probably my favorite of the 4 Good Friday tracks that he put out. It's just very touching. I love the instrumental. It's so good. And it gives me a vintage Kanye. He even says it in the song, I remember producing for Jay and Cam. It also gives me a Last Call kind of vibe, where it should be the last track. I think this would definitely be the best track on the album if it was only the end.
Yeah, I like the story and the concept and the overall good feeling of this song. I just wish that, like you said, the added material at the end of the track gave it a closing album type of feel. And that would have been perfect for a closing track, but there's no worries with that.
I think the song does drag on a little too long, but if it was cut to just the 2-minute song of him before he adds on the bonus track stuff, I think it would just be perfect. After that, we get No More Parties in LA. The hugely anticipated song with Kendrick Lamar also has the classic production duo of Madlib and Kanye. The only thing is, I wasn't feeling it as much as I think I should have been.
Like you said, Kanye West and Madlib come together for this track, and also with the game's hottest MC with Kendrick. And as usual, the song takes you in with the Madlib sampling along with an interesting sample of Kanye's new God flow, which I really wasn't expecting started this track. And it also has a little bit of Kanye influence in the production as well. The song is just a bar fest with some great lines with Kendrick taking the mic first and with a solid outcome with Kanye closing it out.
I think most of us agree that Kanye even out-rapped arguably the best rapper of this decade. Kind of ironic, I would say.
On the other end of the track, Like you said, Kanye arguably out-raps K-Dot on this one, but respectively, both of them undoubtedly show up on this track. It's easily one of my favorite tracks on the album and one of the better songs on the album as well.
It's a good feeling song, but I wasn't just feeling it as much as I probably should have.
Coming out of that great track, we end up with another Good Fridays track with Facts. And coming into the song, I was somewhat hopeful for this track at first whenever it dropped as a Good Friday song, and boy, was I surprised. I mean, this is honestly a joke of a song in my opinion, with Kanye throwing shade and starting shit with Nike and Jordan. I don't know, how are you taking that?
Yeah, two words that really described this was just hated it when it first came out. I think the Yeezy, 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 just above a Jumpman, Kanye, that was one of a kind.
Oh, yeah.
Whew. Like Connor said, it's pretty much a diss song towards Nike. I don't know if any rapper has ever done that before, strictly at a clothing brand.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. Yeah. Only them.
Yeah, they're going off of like a fashion war sort of thing, but in the end, there are maybe only a couple bars or lines I enjoyed.
But don't worry, because the Charlie Heat version, whew, that beat, I think, saved the song.
Yeah, I do have to say the production is much better than the original cut, but I just hate the song with a passion. One of the worst on the album, I'd say, although the production does save it, so it's not completely terrible, but the meaning behind it and the lyrical content is just not there for me.
Yeah, I think the track did get saved by the production, and it went from being awful to tolerable, I would say. For the closing song for The Life of Pablo, we get Fade. Usually for a last song, I like for it to leave a mark on me, and this just really didn't do that. It kind of just is a memory that just faded away. It's not very solid. It doesn't have any memorable lyrics, really. Nothing too memorable about the beat. It's hard to remember, honestly.
Up until this point, I had only listened to the song about 3 times, and the reason why is that it just doesn't do much for me. I mean, the song isn't bad, but it just doesn't suck me in like some of the other songs on the album. Throughout the song, we get some Ty Dolla $ign appearances, and Post Malone also stops by and makes a somewhat decent appearance, and it has to be an interesting sample that gives a sort of James Brown groovy vibe, like a 90s, late 80s sort of dance song. And Kanye has some heavy and sometimes unbearable autotune on this track. And in the end, this gives a sort of boring and forgettable ending to this album.
I think it especially dragged the song down when I heard 30 Hours and was like, this is the perfect ending of this album. And it wasn't. So I think my hopes were just taken away from that. So, Connor, what'd you think?
Well, in the end, I feel that this is easily not one of Kanye's best projects he has put out for us. I felt that we only got a decent project that was 2.5 years in the making. I felt that Kanye could have put out a better project for us. I give extra credit for the overall production of this album. Yeah. I thought that was one of the best components. I'm also giving a shout out towards this album for featuring artists and producers Kanye got. Yeah. I thought all of them brought their best, and it shows on many of these tracks. Some songs hit it home for me in the theme and lyrical side, and a few didn't. Also, the poor quality of skits also brought this album down for me a little too. My favorite songs are No Parties in L.A., Ultralight Beam, and Father Stretch My Hands Part 1. Some of the lackluster songs, on the other hand, for me include Freestyle 4, Facts, and Fade. In the end, I'm giving this album a C-, and I hope Kanye pulls through for us the next time around on his future material. So, Adam, what do you think?
C-, huh? Alright, well, overall, as an album, it's not my favorite. The skits were weak. You and me both agree on that. The album's overall tone was not consistent, really. It went from the gospel to the bangers. Just, I don't know, it didn't really put it together as well as I thought he could have. And there are about half of the songs that I would probably not even put on a playlist of 2016.
Yeah.
Although there were some pretty good songs on the album, like my favorites, FML and Real Friends.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me happy deep down to see that Kanye still has it in him, you know, just those
true.
Good songs.
Mm-hmm.
I was excited about the features, like you said, the Kendrick Lamars, the Ty Dolla $ign even surprised me. They did really well. Also, Chris Brown, like I said earlier, he sounded really good to me.
Mm-hmm.
I also give a shout out to the production. Kanye's always known for that, and he continued on with his legacy with that. I give The Life of Pablo a D.
All right. Well, guys, that'll be it for us today. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at the SCheck, and also email us any hip hop questions you might have. What are you listening to?
Should we review it?
Send us your opinions on new ideas for the show to our official email, thesoundcheck2015 at gmail.com. Thanks for tuning into the Soundcheck as we officially sound off.